Welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the main card fights for UFC 251 Usman versus Masvidal. And this main event might change as it has changed before, and if anything changes, then I'll update it in the comment section below. And let's see what else might change. The main event might go back to Volkanovski versus Holloway 2, and if that changes, then I'll just change the title, and etc., etc. But for right now, it's looking like Usman versus Masvidal will be the main event. So that's what I'll be predicting. I'll predict every other single fight on the main card in this video. Anything changes, look to the comment section, and I will change it. I will update it in the comment section, and in the description, in the title. And if you need any more information, then just follow me on Twitter at King of Crackdown on Twitter, or MMA Fan EVP. Either way, I'm going to put it all in the description, so you can look to the description for more information. But let's just get on to the predictions. So in our first fight, we have in the women's flyweight division, Amanda Ribas versus Paige Vanzant. So just looking at this fight right here, it's pretty straightforward. Paige Vanzant, she had a lot of talent, still has a lot of talent, but it looked like it's withered tremendously. Like when she first came on, like she was high cardio, stronger than a lot of women in the division. She was in your face. She was a wrestler. She was like nose to nose, just, working the whole time. Then she kind of started fighting on the outside, lost some of that strength, lost some of her wrestling. So, her style right now is very confused. And even her last fight, she probably fought one of the weaker women in the division. Like, not just saying this physically weak, but just overall, she wasn't one of the better fighters, like in Rachel Ostovich. And Rachel Ostovich was taking her down, out-striking her, really just having her way with her in that fight. Until really, I think Ostovich made a mistake, and then Paige Vanzant capitalized and was able to get a submission. But outside that, you wouldn't be anybody in this division. You shouldn't struggle with Rachel Ostovich. That should be a pretty clean decision. Like, you just clearly the better fighter, or you should be putting her away. You should not be struggling with her. And Ribas definitely probably would finish her in one round. But all that being said, I think Paige Vanzant, even if she probably was at her best or looking good, Amanda Ribas is just somebody that looked like they can really be a force in this division. Like, she has good size, good striking, good technique, got power in the striking, and she got top-notch BJJ. Like, she in this division, she's probably top 3 BJJ players in this whole division, if not top 1. Especially when you mix in the whole full MMA game, she might be the best grappler in this division as far as BJJ, not wrestling, but like BJJ submission skills. She's probably the best in this. Might be the best in this division. You could say Dern, maybe just pure BJJ is better than her, but like all around MMA, it's Ribas in this division right now. But to get to the point, I think Ribas is just better than everywhere. I think she can outstrike Vanzant. I think she could dominate her on the grappling, and I see her doing. I see her dominating her in the striking, getting the fight to the ground, and then having her way with it. Like, Vanzant has been looking terrible trying to get off her back. Like, she'll literally stay on her back on the ground for anyone. Like, literally anyone take her down, she can't get up. That's not a good look. And now you're gonna have somebody who really can do damage to you on the ground. That's gonna end up very bad. Like, even the striking's competitive, when it goes to the ground, it's gonna look like a very one-sided fight. See Ribas is picking apart, chewing up on the ground, is landing ground and pound, getting Vanzant to, cough up a submission. Cough up a little arm or cough up her back. And I see Ribas capitalizing and tapping her out. And I see that happening in the second round. So in this fight, I have Amanda Ribas via second round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in the women's strawweight division, Jessica Andrade versus Rose Namajunas. So this is a rematch of a title fight where Namajunas was a champion and Andrade was a challenger. And in that fight, Rose Namajunas was just looking phenomenal with her boxing and her striking, even in her submission attempts, but she was holding on to some submissions too long, and she was made to pay for it. Andrade would pick her, I think it was the armbar, and Andrade would just pick her up and just slam her on her head. Like, she wouldn't even try to let go of the submission. Like, you see somebody picking you up, you could have just let go and just went back to standing, but you try and hold on to the submission and allow yourself to get slammed on the head. But outside of that, Rose Namajunas was looking like the better fighter. And I'm going to lean to Rose Namajunas in this one. I think if she makes the smart decision, like, really the main decision she has to make, still go for those submissions, but let go when somebody slams. Somebody picking you up, let go and go back to striking. Because on the feet, she was looking like the far superior striker, was just having her way with Andrade. Andrade would land some good shots here and there, but she wouldn't really land no heavy shots. She got kind of land shots that Namajunas was either making Andrade whiff or making her barely land, like turning with the punches and let the punch roll off. Whereas Rose Namajunas was landing good jabs, good straights, good knees, good elbows. She's really looking like the much cleaner striker. And I don't think Andrade has really changed too much. She's going to be that dog, that physical fighter, going to try to manhandle other women and be in your face, go to your body, go to your head, like John Lineker, like female John Lineker and stuff. But technically wise, I don't think Andrade has made any improvements. And if anything, in her last fight, it showed that she can be hurt. She is human, because she got caught by Zhang and then put away in seconds. Well, under a minute, I think. So or at least pretty quick. Whether it was a minute, under a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, either way, it was very quick. You see Andrade as a person who could basically take a missile launcher, but that fight showed that she is not invincible. So I think that takes away some of her edge. But it's not like Rose Namajunas is a power puncher. But what I see is really just come down to a competitive strike. Like, I mean, it's a competitive all around fighting. Andrade's gonna be trying to mix it in, like, and try to slam her and try to throw her to the ground and, you know, just maul on her. But I think Rose Namajunas will be to keep her distance for the most part, land some clean shots on the grappling aspects when taken down or presenting those areas. I think she'll have an answer for it. Now I think really the clear edges come down to the striking. That Namajunas is going to be working from every area. She's on her feet. She's going to be landing the cleaner strikes, making Andrade miss a lot, counter, catch her with knees, catch her with elbows. And it's really just chew her up on the feet. Competitive fight, but I think the striking of Namajunas and the activity is what's going on. Like, you know, the clean activity. I think because Andrade is not a fighter that's going to be doing one shot, two shots. She's going to go out there and be doing big hooks to the body, to the head, big overhands. These are big stuff all over, but it's the fact that Namajunas is going to be the one landing those shots. Whereas Andrade's probably landing those shots here and there. Most of the time they're going to be hitting the guard or the shoulder or something, but not really like in the areas where it's not scoring. It's going to look good, but it's not going to be scoring. And Rose Namajunas is going to be the one landing the clean, flush shots more often than not. I think by a pretty significant clip compared to the two, but competitive fight nonetheless. But the cleanness of Namajunas is what's going to edge it for her. So in this fight, I got Rose Namajunas via decision. Now on to our next fight. We have in the bantamweight division, Peter Yan versus Jose Aldo. And this is a very interesting one right here. Well, it's semi-interesting. But a lot of people are high on Peter Yan. I don't know what the odds are right now, and I'm not going to look into it. I'm just going to judge them based off what I've seen. But a lot of people be high on Peter Yan, especially himself. But I have never really been the highest on Peter Yan. I see him as a fighter that can definitely, you know, beat a lot of people. He's that fighter that has, you know, the skill set that just beats a lot of people. Like, it's a skill set that is solid enough that when you put it against a lot of different fighters, a lot of different styles, it'll win out. But I see a lot of flaws in Peter Yan. I don't think he'll ever fix them really. But he's still young and semi-young, and he could change him. But I think he's at this point, nobody's really testing him to the point that he feels he has to change. So usually people don't change until they feel they have to change, or somebody tells them. And I don't think no one's telling him and no one's showing him his weaknesses. But there's a lot of weaknesses to Peter Yan. Like, his reflex a little bit off. He don't really got no counter striking. He goes straight back. I mean, he goes straight back a lot. You know, like, really, all he is a forward fighter. Going backward, he's like mediocre garbage going backwards. Going forward, he's a dog. Like, he gets his opponent like to feel his power when they start to shell up. And they'll start doing mixing and kicks to the body, chewing your leg up, doing knees to the body, coming overhands, like on these vicious combos on you, just ripping you apart. But going backwards, he has nothing really at all. Like I said, he's a mediocre fighter. Push that bum backwards, he's trash. He's mediocre. Beat his ass. He's got some shit. I'm gonna be straight up honest. And people slicing him up, but he's a garbage going backwards. You at a high level, you should not be that trash going backwards. Going backward, he has nothing. He would even let him, our favorite, catch him some ugly straights, and he would just, like, the little bit of seconds he was going back, a little bit of second, Uriah Faber got him to rack. In like the very first 30 seconds, Uriah Faber was able to land a knee on his chin. Like, going backward, he has nothing. And his guard, he puts up that shell guard on defense. Like, his defense is like really for the most part, he has some decent. Well, I won't even say decent. He has passable defense. It's not good. It's the fact that he has good chin, he has good power, and he knows when he lands his shot, he's gonna get you to shell up. And then even Uriah Faber, the only reason his striking looked so good against Uriah Faber was because Uriah Faber was flat-footed, as always, going backwards when he's not doing offense, going straight back, so that you could basically just keep throwing shots on a straight line because your opponent's not getting off that center line, not crossing over, not turning, not pivoting. He's going straight back, and his chin's up. But this is not a boxing critique. This is a fight. And how I see it, I think that Aldo is the better boxer. Yes, Peter Yan has some decent boxing. He's good going forward. And if Aldo, being Aldo, cutting this much weight, and even at 145, at times he would like dip off sometimes in these rounds because of, struggling to make weight. And I think the same issue is going to be at 135, if not more. He says dieting is better, but you're 10 pounds lighter than the weight class you were struggling to make weight. I don't know how that's going to affect. And we only seen him in a 3-round fight. And even that third round against Marlon Moraes, he kind of slowed down. That's what really lost him that decision. People might say, oh, it was a close fight or he won, but he really kind of took his foot off the gas in that third round. That's why he lost. Because he lost the first round, won the second round. Third round was looking good, and he kind of slowed down. And then that little bit of slowdown allowed Marlon Moraes to edge him on the decision. Like, because Marlon Moraes took up the pace and was able to steal that last round. And that's what won. Like, at the end of the fight, the end of those, minute or so, he was the one being active. Aldo was kind of sitting back a little bit, and that's why he lost. But even that being said, when Aldo's still, for the most part, a pretty technical fighter at all points. He might get tired, but his technique never really falls too much. Unless you're just like a fighter that's so active on him that even though his technique is pretty good, like it's like back to like doing 1,000 strikes. You're tired, you're not doing output. Somebody doing 1,000 strikes, they're going to hit you. Or somebody that's setting stuff up so well, they're going to hit you. But I don't think Peter Yan sets nothing up that well. His setups aren't that well. Is that most times the people he fighting aren't the best fighters, or they kind of have the tendency to go straight back. But Aldo, when he's tired, he doesn't go straight back. He still be moving. He still cuts angles. So really, I see Peter Yan's best chance if he's fighting a fight that's going straight back or not really giving alpha. But I feel like in this fight, if they're both fresh, good in cardio, I think Aldo's just going to be able to beat him to punch, catch him. Like I said, Yan's reflexes aren't the best. I think he'll be able to catch Yan with his feints and catch him over the top and stuff. Catch him down the guard, catch him around the guard, catch him with uppercuts. Because Peter Yan's open for everything. His guard, his little shell almost style is open for a lot of stuff because he doesn't use the best. He doesn't even really move his head that well with it. Like he does doing it. It was like somebody that's using something they saw instead of something they actually know how to do. That's why I look at his defense. So I think Aldo could split his guards with jabs, split his guard with the straight, split him around the hook, catch him with the hook around the side and catch him with the overhand over top. Could dig him to the body all day. Like, you don't know anything about boxing, you could destroy this man. Like, this man's some trash. But yeah, whatever the case, let me stop digging on I just hate when I see stuff like that and people letting people flourish and they be having these flaws. But either way, I think Aldo has the tools to definitely pick him apart. My real issue is if Aldo slows down and allow Yan to get on that front foot and push him back when he's tired, then Yan can really open up. But those first 2 rounds, I think Aldo should be able to take them clear. But then when it gets to 3rd, 4th, and 5th, I think that's when it gets really interesting. And can Aldo keep up his pace? Can Aldo keep going forward? And can he maintain a good championship pace for 5 rounds? That's the real issue. But if he can do that, I think Aldo wins, and I think he will be able to do that to some extent. I think those 4th rounds will be a little bit shaky, but I think the early on rounds, I think Aldo should be able to win them clear enough. I still see it as competitive, but I think Aldo should be able to win them clear enough on most judges' scorecard. In the 4th round, probably be those tosser rounds where he's either going to really bring out that championship heart, and you kind of got to worry about Aldo being where he at. Like, is he really that motivated? So those championship rounds will definitely be questionable, but I think the first 2 rounds should be enough to at least lean the fight heavily to Aldo that he doesn't necessarily need those win those rounds, but I think he still will go out there. He needs those rounds, but I think Aldo should be able to win 3 rounds clear. Still competitive fight. But yeah, close fight in my opinion, just, based on where Aldo is and his weight cut and, how his motivation and where is he really in it? That's what's making it real close. And also the youth of Yan compared to Aldo, that's what really factoring in. If Aldo was like even a year, 2, 3 years younger than he is now, and or his motivation where it was at 2, 3 years ago, it'd just be an easy fight to pick. But just those factors really on Aldo just kind of making it a little bit harder than it should be. But I think Aldo takes this one. Competitive fight, but Aldo being a cleaner technical fighter, the better boxer, more tools, better reflexes, better technique, wins this fight. So in this fight, I got Jose Aldo via decision. Now to our co-main event we have in the featherweight division, Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway 2. So this is a rematch of the featherweight title fight when Max Holloway lost his belt to Volkanovski and Volkanovski became the new champion. And so they're rematching. And to get to the cut and dry, this is a prediction that don't need a whole lot because it's already happened. I don't think much has changed. Or obviously let me not get into that. But not a lot has changed. I think it's too quick of a turnaround. It's not like Max Holloway had some fights and, got to revitalize and change stuff up. And also, he's still in the mindset that he thought it was a close fight and he thought he won. So he probably going to try to go out there and do the same exact stuff he did in the first fight. Just try to do a little bit more to get that edge. But I think Volkanovski's team just came up with a good game plan for Max Holloway. And I think Max Holloway has to address, what areas they exploited in that fight. And I don't think it would been enough time for him to really change things up. So I feel like he's going to go out there, probably be a little better shape. He's probably going to have a better pace. But I still see it likely is the same exact fight. It might be even more competitive, but I still see Volkanovski winning this fight. Because when Volkanovski's going to still be, chewing up the inside leg, chewing up the outside leg, be making Max Holloway react to the, just the fact that he's of his takedown threat when Max Holloway should probably not even worry about the takedown too much. Cause I see the Max Holloway's takedown scramble ability is pretty solid. He can get up to his feet pretty well. So he shouldn't be as worried about getting taken down. In my opinion, he should be focusing more on his striking and going to the body of Volkanovski a little bit more. But I feel like he's still going to be reacting too much to Volkanovski's wrestling or even attempt. I don't think Volkanovski only shot 3 shots that fight. But the fact that he had Holloway thinking about those shots, he was able to land shots. He was able to get away with a lot of little kicks, like get away with a lot of little hooks, get away with a lot of little overhands. Because the whole time Holloway was like, oh, when he gets exposed on the inside, he might shoot a shot. So he was kind of dropping his hands at the time. But I feel like if he doesn't, focus too much on Volkanovski's wrestling and just let his hands go more and not, freeze up when Volkanovski kind of explodes on the inside and start chaining his combos together, or at least that first little burst, I think he'll do better. But I think the time, it hasn't been long enough. And we haven't seen him improving. I think it's pretty much cut and dry. I think it hasn't been enough time yet for him to really change up his game plan. Like, he's going to be a little bit more active, and that's about it. But Volkanovski already has a game plan, and I don't think Max Holloway has found a way around it in this short amount of time. So, same fight, a little bit more competitive, but Volkanovski exploiting the same stuff he exploited in this first fight and getting another decision victory over Max Holloway. So, in this fight, I have Alexander Volkanovski via decision. Now to our main event, we have in the welterweight division, for the undisputed welterweight title, Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal. So you got the undisputed welterweight champion versus the BMF champion in Jorge Masvidal. So look at this fight right here. Let's see how it goes. So Jorge Masvidal is clearly the better striker. Usman is clearly the better wrestler. Masvidal might be a better BJJ person, but I think against Usman, not going to really matter too much. I think Masvidal might have some good stuff to draw up off his back. Might make Usman have to worry a little bit. But once Usman sees it, defends it, he's going to go back and yep, that was good, but what else you got? And he's going to be wrestling him on the ground if that is the case. But I'll see this fight right here. So, really looking at Masvidal's past 3 wins, he fought 2 strikers and he fought Askren, who he knocked out in like 9 seconds. And Askren is a one-dimensional wrestler, so no real striking on his side. And Masvidal literally just ran across the ring and hit him with a flying knee. So we didn't really get to see how good Masvidal's grappling looks as of late. He hasn't really addressed that as well. I mean, he has good grappling, but he's still susceptible to getting laid and prayed to the sin. Like, he got laid and prayed by Maya a couple years ago. I'm not saying that's still him presently, and I'm not saying that still can't happen presently, but I'm saying it happened. Now he's going against Usman, who just as relentless with his grappling is Damian Maia, and his cardio is better. Like, Maia will be relentless with his grappling, but sometimes he just looks so tired, be laying on his back, and it'd be like breathing. But Usman literally will be wrestling you all 5 rounds, 20 takedowns attempts around, and not tired, in your face, going after these takedowns, landing big shots, and pushing you back, and just being that bully. So, EPO or not, you gotta be prepared to go against a big, strong wrestler, physical, heavy-handed, that's gonna be in your face, in your nose, trying to take you down the whole 25 minutes, like literally the whole 25 minutes. I know I'm gonna take 2 minutes off, I'm gonna shoot one burst takedown. If I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. I'm gonna just go back and dance around and throw overhands like some of these other wrestlers. Like, this is a wrestler that's gonna be punching you in your chest, taking you down, try to take you down at every single second of this fight. So it's a different look. And I don't think Masvidal has ever fought anyone like that. And the best guy he could probably have for training for this guy, they don't like each other right now. Like, Kobe Covington is not in ATT right now. I think he get kicked from ATT, and plus they don't like each other. So the best guy you could have for that, you're not even training with no more. You might be able to remember from the past when you trained with him, but you don't have, like, literally it's probably only a very few amount of guys like this, unless maybe you get some fresh out of college wrestler, and then you inject him with EPO, then you might get the same look. But other than that, it's very hard to find this look for what Usman. You got Yoel Romero, but Yoel Romero is not like some cardio wrestler. He got some good takedowns, top class technique, but he might shoot 1 or 2, 3 takedowns a fight. So that's not the same level of, rate. Higher caliber wrestler, but not the same work rate. But what I see in this fight is, I think Jorge Masvidal on the feet, he definitely has some opportunities. Definitely you can mix the uppercut in. I think that's one of like the uppercuts and little hooks, that stuff that can catch Usman, because he kind of leans over like a lot of wrestlers do. So that uppercut, even Covenant was catching with it. He could slip an uppercut in there. He might have a good opportunity. Hooks, I don't think that flying knee is going to have too much of a shot, because Usman, he's not a one-dimensional wrestler. He's not going to see somebody running and ducking and get caught by no flying knee. Maybe you could time it, step back flying knee, you might be able to catch him with it. Or maybe step back uppercut, or steps off and the hook, you might be able to catch him with stuff like that. But yeah, Masvidal definitely has a shot, but I'm really leaning heavily to Kamaru Usman in this one, especially on short notice. Short notice might make Masvidal a little bit more unpredictable, because he has so many tools and he's been around the game for so long. And also, the short notice doesn't really hurt Masvidal. Like I said, he's one of those fighters that have been fighting like 50 fights. So fighters like that, they could be better with full camps, but it's certainly not going to be the fighter that looks like less than himself when you take them on short notice, because that's a fighter that's been fighting his whole life. On the street, then as a fighter, he was been active as a professional. So it's not going to affect Masvidal too much. It is more so it ain't going to help him. So I just feel like Usman pace and pressure going to push Masvidal back, put him against the cage, lock him up, and take him down, wear on him. I think Masvidal definitely not going to be a deal with that pace. If Usman start getting takedowns after takedowns and grinding on him and punch him in his body, punch him in the chest, punch him in the face, and really making Masvidal work, that's really going to take away from his striking. It's going to take away from his fluidity. And when he loses that fluidity and creativity, then he really loses his whole edge, especially against Usman. I see Masvidal looking kind of fluid early on, but when Usman starts to really lock up with him and he starts to feel that weight and feel that strength and feel that pace, then that really starts to drain Masvidal down. He loses some of his creativity, become a little bit more predictable, because like his shots not going to flow as much as they need to flow. And that's going to allow Usman to get in on these takedowns easier and start to get him down. Like first round might be a little bit like close and scary with those little counters. And with Masvidal's speed and his unpredictably and his high caliber striking, high caliber game he brings. But like I said, once he locks up, he starts to wear on him. Maybe after those first 2 rounds, I think he softened up after those first 2 rounds. Now I think Usman really just starts to dominate him, just pick him up, slam him, beat on him, and wear on him. And I think he just pretty much just drenches him for that whole 3rd round. In the 4th round, he puts him away with ground and pound and gets that, TKO stoppage. So in this fight, I have Kamaru Usman via 4th round TKO. And that concludes my fight predictions for the main card of UFC 251, Usman versus Masvidal. And as always, thanks for watching. Now to our